Welcome to Calisthenics Through the Ages, training advice for old guys by an old guy. For this video, I'm going to try something new, something I haven't seen a lot of on these calisthenics channels. I'm going to attempt to learn a difficult new skill, and I'm going to document the learning process. I'm setting myself a goal of learning a handstand on rings, and specifically, I want to be able to press from an L to a balanced, locked out, more or less straight handstand, hold the handstand for I'm going to say 10 seconds, and then press back down to an L, all without my feet or legs touching the straps. I'm not going to worry about keeping my arms or legs straight during the press, but the handstand itself will be straight. Now, I don't want to mislead anybody. I have worked on pressing to a handstand on rings. I just never got to the handstand. I'll show you what I mean. Here's some video from about 3 years ago, which is the last time I worked on this. This is about the best I was able to do back then. Oh. That cracks me up. Here, let's watch it one more time. Yeah, you know, my wife is taking the video. I'm sure I was trying to push it just a little higher than I ever pushed it before, and oh man. I don't care who you are, that shit is funny. And I don't know if you could tell from the video, but the only thing between my back and the bricks is a ratty pair of tennis shoes. I don't know what I was thinking. It wasn't the first time I fell out of that. I own mats. All right. For real this time. Here's the best video I got back then. Like I was saying before, I can do the press okay. I can extend my arms to just past 90 degrees, but that's not a handstand. If I get any closer to the handstand than that, it gets really scary. I swear to you, my main purpose here is not to make fun of myself. My main purpose is to document the learning process and show some of the pitfalls, while making fun of myself. All right, before I start with the handstand on rings, let's just take a minute and think about what you actually do when you balance a handstand on a solid surface. All right, let's say you kick up to a handstand and get to a nice balanced position temporarily. There's really only two ways that you can fall out of that balanced position. One way is that you can be underbalanced, meaning that you would start to fall back toward your feet. And the other way is that you can be overbalanced, which means that you would start to fall towards your back. So the mechanics of balancing a handstand really only have to do with compensating for the underbalance and the overbalance. But how do you actually do that? I'm going to attempt to illustrate the techniques. In this video, the handstand is initially pretty straight. Now, if you underbalance, like this, you can do one of two things. You can plant your shoulders a bit, meaning closing the shoulder angle a little, or you can bend your arms. Either one of those things moves some of your mass out in front of your hands, and thereby moves your center of mass back above your hands. Once you get the balance back, you can straighten back out. If you overbalance, then you do two things simultaneously. One, you keep tension in your core to resist being pulled into an arch. And two, you push with your fingers to resist toppling over. Of course, I've exaggerated the motion here to show you what I'm talking about. But even when you're staying very close to the balance point and these corrections are subtle, you still spend a lot of your time pushing down with your fingers to avoid overbalancing. And I believe that that pushing with your fingers is the main source of the difficulty when you try to take your handstand to the rings. Here's my admittedly imperfect, but my best understanding of how it works on rings. What you do when you underbalance on rings, either plunging your shoulders or bending your arms, is pretty much the same as what you do when you're on the floor or on bars. That's why I can kind of hold the underbalance position on rings. The main difference is what you do when you overbalance. Okay, let's say this is my handstand, and let's compare a handstand on rings to a handstand on parallel bars, since the hand position is the same. On parallel bars, if you overbalance, what you do is you push this way on the bars to resist falling toward your back. If you overbalance on rings and you do that same thing, you'll quickly end up flat on your back, as I helpfully demonstrated in the video a minute ago. That doesn't work because the rings just move. There's nothing solid to push against. So on rings, what you do instead is you move your hands this way to compensate for the overbalance. So on rings, you balance the handstand by moving your hands this way to compensate for underbalancing and this way to compensate for overbalancing. Easy, right? Yeah.
After looking at the old videos, I decided that the best strategy would be to get into the handstand position first by using the straps, then work on trying to hold the balance. I can go back and learn the press after I learn how to balance the handstand. I tried jumping to it a couple of times, but that didn't work too well. Then I tried kicking to it, and that worked a little bit better. Once I got to the handstand, though, unwrapping my feet proved to be very hard. If you've never tried it, it's hard to imagine how incredibly wobbly the whole thing is. After the first few attempts, I realized that when I kicked up to it, I always ended up with a lot of swing. So I decided to try pressing to it, but using the straps. The first time I tried it, I wrapped my feet around the straps. But then, by the time I got to the handstand, I was so tired that I just could not manage to unwrap my feet, and I eventually gave up and just came back down. So then I decided to try pressing to it, but only touching my feet to the inside of the straps. I was kind of scared to try this. I thought that I might miss the straps entirely and just fall, but much to my surprise it worked really well, and I actually held the handstand very briefly. I got so excited about that one that I went and got my son to watch the next one. That one also went really well, until I got just a little bit too excited.
After watching those videos, I realized two things. One, I need something softer to land on. And two, I wasn't turning the rings out at all. If your hands are like this, like mine were, I think it's nearly impossible to balance a handstand on rings. You have to turn the rings out so that your hands are in this position. Okay, here's what happened the next time I tried it.
Putting my brilliant problem-solving brain to work, I quickly devised a technological solution to the problem. I put a pillow under the rings.
That hurt at least twice as much as without the pillow. How? Seriously, I'm old, I have back problems, I'm not going to be able to take too many more falls like that. Clearly, I needed something that would prevent me from falling. I needed something like training wheels.
I have these really nice rings from Rogue Fitness. The straps are what they call competition ring straps, and they have loops every 3 inches. I threaded a chain through the loops to stop me from falling. It worked, but it wasn't optimal. It seemed like they blocked me from getting into a fully extended position. So then I thought, whatever it is that stops me from falling has to be out in front of the straps, not in the plane of the straps. So I stuck the handles of a dustpan and a small broom through 2 of the loops and tied a little piece of rope to the handles. That way the rope was about 4 inches in front of the straps. It works, but it looks kind of funny. Then I thought of a way to make the whole thing simpler and safer for me, meaning I won't get in trouble when my wife goes looking for her dustpan. I just attached 2 carabiners to the straps and tied a rope to them. It works great, and it's easy to adjust the height and the distance of the rope from the straps.
It's gonna work.
Yep, my little training wheel thing is the next best thing to having a spotter. Now that I had a setup that I was satisfied with, I thought that pressing to the handstand instead of jumping or kicking was probably a better idea, so that I wouldn't be swinging when I got to the handstand. And now I can really start to work on form. Incidentally, the reason that I start wobbling at the end there is just that I was trying hard to turn the rings out.
Oh my God, it is so hard even to turn the rings out, not to mention trying to balance the damn thing. Let me tell you something. If you think you're all that because you have a solid handstand on the ground, and you're looking for a dose of humility, try it on the rings. Well, clearly I'm not going to get it anytime soon. I'm going to give myself 1 year. I began working on this on Saturday, September 26th of this year, so I intend to post a video of my success by September 26th, 2021. Again, success would be, on rings, press from an L to a handstand, hold the handstand for 10 seconds, press back down to an L, all without feet or legs touching the straps. Failure would be not an option. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Good luck and happy training.